everyone. Welcome back to We Can Do This. My name is Julie Wild, and I am your hostess. And welcome to my channel if you are new. If you are one of my subscribers and my regular followers, thank you again for joining me. I appreciate all of you so much. And as you can see, this week I am inside. It is well over 90 degrees and very humid outside here in Western Pennsylvania. And that is just a little too hot for me to be outside doing this. So I am in here in the central air, trying to keep cool. And I hope everybody had a great week and you're having a great weekend. And I think it's kind of appropriate that I have to be inside today and doing my broadcast from here because of our topic today, which is how can weather and the climate affect our mood? And I always thought it was pretty cut and dried, that it was pretty simple, but it really isn't. I've done some research, and we all know that the different weather and different climate. I mean, it can affect our mood and our energy and our mental functioning. But I found out that it just isn't that simple. So, weather and climate do affect people in many different ways. So what are some of the effects that weather has on us? And the first thing, of course, is mood, and our mental health. And I found out that there are certain things that are met if you feel either you have a low mood or a high mood. And a low mood comes out in high humidity. That's me. Precipitation and fog. I had to drive to work in that the other day. Very much a downer. And low temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius, and high temperatures above 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius. Now, for high mood, that would be sunlight. We all love the sun, high atmospheric pressure, and clear skies, and mid-range temperatures, which is usually between 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 to 21 degrees Celsius. So another thing, we obviously know it affects our mood, but it also affects our energy levels. And, typically when it's cold outside, it's cold weather, that's kind of our hibernate mode. None of us wants to go out in the really, really cold weather. And, we find ourselves having, less energy. Whereas versus if it's warmer weather, we feel like our energy and our mood are boosted. But once again, that's only up to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So these are the different things. And, let's face it, sunlight, it impacts our energy. When we're in daylight, like right now, light tells you that this is the time of day you're supposed to be awake. And when you have those long, bright days, you feel that energy, kind of a happiness energy versus when it's dark outside, that tells you you need to rest and that's your time to sleep. So when we have the short, light, cloudy days, we tend to feel a lot more run down and a lot more tired. And I think a good example of this is when we change the clocks twice a year. We go to longer, darker days, then for a while we go to longer, lighter days, and our bodies and our system is constantly fluctuating. And, this has been a long point of contention for many years is, us changing the clocks, most of us. So that can have effect as well. And our stress. Any drop in atmospheric pressure, and this is going to the brain here. It is going to activate up here something called the superior vestibular nucleus, or SVN. And it's a part of our brain that controls our balance and perception. Pretty interesting. And what happens is, this is one thing it may, get your body all riled up when a storm's coming, it can make you feel on edge. But also, if it's high temperatures, really high temperatures, that can also increase your stress levels. Whenever it's really, really hot out, people tend to be more irritable, or even maybe aggressive during the hotter months. And, you know, I hate the really, really hot weather. I like warmer weather, but I hate this hot weather and the high humidity. And I really do have to tell you, it does make me irritable. And I'm sure it does to you too, because the weather affects all of us. So another thing that it does, it affects our ability to think clearly and make informed decisions. If we have warm, sunny weather, it can boost our memory. It can help us feel more open to new information. And I found this out, if you have ADHD, it can actually improve in attentiveness. But another thing that I found out, which really kind of surprised me, but I kind of get it because, hot weather, when it's extremely hot weather, they've had all kind of studies and stuff done. It tends to make people more tolerant of financial risks. I did not know this. It's pretty interesting that whenever it's warm weather, it actually, in a financial way, creates impulses to make purchases or investments, to take more risk. Who knows? But one thing that they say is, in order for these abilities to think clearly and make the informed decisions and the financial aspect of it, they say you really need to be outside in the actual environment to be feeling these things. You're not looking at them from inside the house looking out a window. So it probably wouldn't have much impact on your emotions at that time. But let's talk about who are the most vulnerable to changes in the weather. They say that 30% or a third of us who live with something called meteoropathy, and that's the shift in weather, can cause symptoms like irritability, which we've already talked about, headaches and migraines, insomnia, also another one, and trouble concentrating. But once the weather shifts, these symptoms disappear. They're no longer there. So this meteoropathy, it's not something that's diagnosed. It's just a term that people are aware of that is there. And it mostly, I don't know what that was there, sorry. Mostly affects women, older adults, people with the high personality trait of neuroticism, did not know that, and people who have been diagnosed with a mood disorder. It can trigger that. And weather, along with everything so far that we talked about, it can also has roles in some of the following conditions. Seasonal depression. Now, I talk to a ton of people that have this, and I know I do. Fall is my absolute favorite time of year. Absolute favorite. I save most of my vacation and time off for that time of year. And my least favorite is spring. I hate spring. I hate everything about it. And I think most of that stems, I have very severe allergies. So I think that's where a lot of my feelings come from during that season. Summertime's okay. I don't like the really, really extreme hot weather. I don't think most of us do, but it's okay. And then Christmas time, I don't like the really cold weather, but I don't mind snow. I think it's very pretty. I don't like to drive in it or drive in ice. There's no driving in ice, it wins. So seasonal depression is very much a thing. And there actually is a term for it. It's called seasonal affective disorder, or called SAD. And it's depression symptoms that occur certain times of the year. Now, depression can happen at any time. We all know that. But, most people, when they experience these depression symptoms, it's you're sad, you're extra sleepy, or you're extra hungry. And that happens they say, in the fall and the winter, but you don't have those symptoms in the spring and the summer. But it can also be the opposite of that. It can also be if you have this particular sad condition, the warm, sunny weather, in the spring and the summer actually triggers depression. But the colder winter months are felt as a relief. So you don't feel them then. And if it's in the summer or the spring, you have agitation, the insomnia, and, the low mood, poor appetite, PTSD, whatever case may be. I'm kind of a mix of the two. Take a look at yourself. Where do you see yourself falling into this? I'm a mix, and I have to be honest. I've never been normal. I have never followed a pattern. I've just been me, and I've never been one to want to kind of be normal. So, finding out something like this just proves I'm right. But the other thing it can trigger is major depression. Now, I'm not talking just like regular. We all have our blue days and stuff. And it can occur at any time. But the most likely times that we're going to feel our severe depression is in November and December, or when the temperature falls below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's me too. When the wind speed is faster than on previous days. And I have to tell you, that's been one thing I've noticed that's changed in Western Pennsylvania. The last handful of years, I've noticed we have a lot more wind than we had, when I was growing up. And we have a lot more temperatures over 90 that are extra hot. And we're going to get to the climate in a minute. But also if it snowed within the last 2 days. Now, I don't get depressed when I see snow. I love snow. It's very pretty. And if I don't have to drive in it, I like it even better. What I don't like about the snow is it makes things outside mushy. If the temperature starts to get warmer and things just kind of get yucky outside and all muddy and nasty, that's kind of when it's yucky. So let's, now that we've kind of touched on weather, and how we all feel about it, let's talk a little bit about climate change. Now, we have heard so much about this, at least over the last 10 years or more, about how the climate is changing globally, and there's a number of different factors that are involved in that, and we're talking about more extremes in particular. And we're talking about temperatures that are above 70 degrees Celsius. It has a tendency to decrease feelings like joy and happiness. Or it can also cause some not so great emotions like anger and frustration. And it can also go to give you fatigue. And increased temps of climate change, they're linked to also, and we've all heard about studies, we've all heard it in the news about the increased levels of violence, especially in cities where the temperatures are even warmer than what they are, in a country setting. And this is just not here in the United States, it's around the globe. It's everywhere around the world. The temperatures get hotter, people get more agitated, they get more impulsive, and they have a lot more stress that's built up. So that's one thing, that all these studies have shown, that wherever it is in the world, this extreme climate change is affecting everybody. And along with that, we have a lot of extreme, weather events. We see them all the time, every day on the news, whether it's tornadoes or floods or earthquakes, any of those things, those events cause some significant mental health symptoms. They absolutely can. I mean, it's different. We're sitting here and we watch somebody else going through them. I can't even imagine what the poor people who are experiencing these things go through. But, let's talk about anxiety. Let's talk about depression. Let's talk about PTSD. I mean, any of these types of extreme weather events in our climate, they have a really huge effect, one way or another. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. I wanted to do something a little different here. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I appreciate knowing that. So let's get to the nitty gritty here. How do we cope with Mother Nature? Let's face it, we're not going to win. We're not going to win against her. It's coming one way or the other. So we have to make accommodations on our end to adapt with what she wants to do. And there are some things we can do to help our well-being. And this first one, we've talked about this on a lot of different topics in the past, and it is documenting, keeping a mood journal. Now, I don't know anybody who does this, but I think that if this is something, the changes in the weather, the changes in the climate, the extreme situations that we're experiencing, if it's something that's really hard for you to deal with, and you're noticing that it's heavy on you, and it's heavy on your emotions and your feelings, keep a journal, write it down, put it in black and white, keep track of it. What days are you feeling this? What days are you better? Like I said, I'm kind of mixed. I'm not, the one side of the coin or the other, with the times of year. I'm kind of mixed about that thing. So, and everybody's different, write it down, take some notes on it. And this next one is a big one, because I know we do this all the time. We do not like watching the news. I refuse to watch the news. It's too drama filled for me. I don't really get a whole lot out of it. I watch a lot more of very factual people on YouTube, and I find it much more refreshing and much more educational to watch them than I do, any of the major networks. But I will say we do turn on the news to monitor the weather forecast. And, if you see that we have, like, say, a rainy day, and I know me, I hate rainy days. Don't schedule anything that's high stress during those days. Keep it low stress. And I get it. I go into the office. I have a job. It's difficult. You can't control that. And I do struggle on rainy days and dreary days. I really do. But if you can, especially in your personal life, and it's going to be a dreary day, don't schedule something that you're going to need to be on your game, and you're going to need to give it all that, and be happy and into it. Don't do that to yourself. Wait till a better day where that you're going to be able to be on your game and be able to give your whole self to it. And another thing is, and once again, if you have a job and you have to go into the office like me, you can't do this. But if you have the ability to do this, especially when you're home or on the weekends and it's kind of a yucky day, stay inside during the harsh weather. Don't go out into it. Take advantage if you have that opportunity. Stay out of it. Don't look out the window. I know that's one thing with me. I have a window in my office and I love it. On sunny days, it's great. And I'm loving it. And I have a tree outside my office, and, I watch the birds, and it's great. But on those rainy, dreary, overcast days, not so much. So the last thing, which, I stress here because I am not a professional. I do not claim to be one. I am just a normal person who has topics that interest me, and self-help is one of them. And I try to provide tips. I am not a professional. I'm not a medical expert. If you ever have any types of feelings or moods that are bothering you, I have stressed this on my channel. Get professional help. Go to your PCP. Go to a therapist. Go to a psychiatrist. There is no shame in that. We all need help. We all need support at times in our lives. And a professional, they are used to dealing with these types of things, with these seasonal fluctuations in our feelings, or, day to day, the rainy day blues. They deal with this with patients all the time, and they can give you the proper professional support in doing that. What I do here is just trying to provide tips and my personal feelings. And I do pretty good at it. But, there are days like the yucky rainy days where, I deal with it. I know it. But if you find yourself not in that position, see a professional. I beg you, please go. You will not regret it. And they can definitely help you along. So now that we've talked about the weather, we've talked about the climate, who does it affect the most, what little few tips we can do. Okay, what's the bottom line here? All right, so the bottom line is there's at least a third of people who that climate and weather affect. Now, personally, I think it's a lot higher than that. But I think what they're talking about in saying that is these are people that deal with it at an extreme level. I deal with it, but I'm not an extremist with it. So, climate change is, it can be extremely different, and it can affect you in so many different ways, not in a good way, especially when it's related to natural disasters. I think the things that I've learned and that, I've mentioned here, you need to take the time to really watch yourself. How do you feel? How is your brain reacting to what's going on outside? How is it reacting to the seasons? How is it reacting to the climate? Like I said, we can't fight Mother Nature, but we can make changes on our end and we can get help on our end and do things that can help us get through it a little bit easier and not be so mad at Mother Nature, even though we're still disgusted with her and a little frustrated. But with that being said, I thought this would be a really great topic to talk about today. And it's a little bit lower key. I talk about self-help that are sometimes a little bit deeper in discussion, but this was a little lighter. And I thought it was kind of an interesting topic to talk about because it is something that affects our moods all the time and with something we can all relate to. So, with that being said, once again, I would like to remind you, I would love it if you would please subscribe to my channel, hit that like button below. I would love to know if you're loving my content and my live streams. I would really appreciate it and appreciate the support. And I do have a teaser. I try to remember to give you a teaser every week. And here is the teaser for today. It is looking pretty darn good that I am going to have a guest next week, and we are going to be discussing mindfulness. Now, I will say this, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but this person I have known for many, many years. And this person is someone that has wanted to talk about this topic a lot. And this was their idea to talk about it. So I'm going to take a back seat next week. When this person comes on, they are much more schooled on this topic. I'm going to do a little research this week and read up on it, but we've all heard the term mindfulness. So it's a term that we're all aware of and that we've heard, but maybe not fully understand. And I know I'm really excited and really interested in finding out more about it. And I hope you are too. And I'm very, very excited. I always love having guests because that just makes it a little bit easier for me. And it's someone that, we can play off each other in our discussion. And I learned so much by doing this with other people. So definitely exciting. I hope things do work out. We're going to be talking about mindfulness next week. So please, if you can, join me. And if not, definitely watch the rerun of it. I know this person, you're going to want to hear them. I promise you that. They're really amazing and very intellectually informed. So there you go. So it is time to do my famous ending. I know you're all waiting for it. And it is this. We can do this. We got this. I can. And I will. And so will you. And with that being said, have an awesome rest of the weekend. Take care, stay safe, and have a great week next week. And always remember, you're not alone in how you feel. And if it's the weather that's bothering you, I promise you, you're not the only one feeling that way. So until next Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, when we will join you again, please remember to join us and that we can do this. Thank you very much for joining me today.